We don't deal with death well in America. I've seen it countless times in my own practice. And what hurts me the most is when patients or their families are not ready. Dr. Ken Prager is chairman of the Medical Ethics Committee at Columbia University. I worked with Ken for the last 20 years. We're at the same hospital, helping the families and their loved ones making difficult end-of-life decisions. So, Ken, we don't like talking about it. It is an awkward moment, especially in the crisis of taking care of someone and trying to save their life. What should we be talking about today, about this issue in our families?
Well, I think to put some perspective on the whole discussion we've had today, let's realize the fact that a tiny fraction of the people who die in this country are people who might want to end their lives voluntarily. The vast, vast majority of people who die in America die because of their illnesses, and they have not had the appropriate input. They have not spoken about how they want to die or what they don't want when they do die. The big problem is that not only have doctors not been forthcoming in speaking to patients, but patients have also not faced up to the fact that they have a right to speak about what they do or don't want at the end of their life. One of the things that people should do is to appoint somebody, if they cannot make their own decisions for themselves, appoint a proxy, somebody who can speak up for them when they have lost capacity. But first, they have to speak to the proxy and tell them what they do or don't want for themselves when their life is coming to an end.
Sure, share with everybody. You're so good at this. It was late night discussions when it's just barely in time at point one. That's not the best way. How do folks today, right after the show is over, talk to the people who they love dearly and figure out who should be their healthcare proxy?
What they should do, number one, is to speak to their physicians when they have their next checkup and say, "Doctor, would you please give me a proxy form? I'd like to speak to somebody about what my wishes are to the end of life."
I can tell you one thing for sure, that's not going to happen. But what we have done is put on our website a sample healthcare proxy form. I'll tell you more about it in a second. But just print that out. Don't delay until you have your next doctor's appointment, because most people don't go to the doctor. All right,
okay.
Good.
All right, okay.
And if you got 7 minutes, that's not, how I die isn't one of those 7 minutes, okay?
All right, but I think they also have to give some thought about what they consider to be. You've seen one thing today from all these discussions. There is a tremendous variability and variation in what people think is important for themselves. And you people sitting out there and the people out in TV land, as we used to say, you must have strong feelings about what you consider to be dignity, what you do or don't want for yourself. Now is the time to think about it, to speak to your person that you're going to entrust with that responsibility of making decisions for you when you lose that capacity. As long as you have capacity, of course, you can make your own decisions. But if you do lose capacity, do you want to have a feeding tube if you have Alzheimer's disease? If you get pneumonia and you're severely demented or you're dying from cancer, do you want the antibiotic? Do you want the ventilator? Do you want the dialysis machine? Under what circumstances do you want to have your life prolonged? Under what circumstances don't you? We are not prophets. We can't predict everything, but we can predict a lot of things. And at least to convey your philosophy of life and about your own dignity to somebody who will make that decision for you is something you should all do.
So, Dana, if I can reduce this to practice in your life. Instead of masterful explaining this, I'm just going to underline it. So the healthcare proxy is the person who you think will represent what you would have done if you were able to make a decision. And then the living will is what Dr. Prager outlines, very specifically, things I don't want done to me. Please fill those documents out, because we have the incredible ability to torture you if you don't put those rules up there. And those are personal decisions for you. There is no right and wrong on those, but you got to check the box somewhere. You got to show up in your own life on this one.
Let me say one other thing. It's very difficult if your relatives or loved ones don't know what you want. It's very difficult for them to say, don't treat so-and-so. Don't give them dialysis, don't. They don't want that responsibility. They don't want the guilt. They don't want to live with the fact that I killed my mother. Unless you tell those people what you really want, they are going to have a great deal of difficulty in withholding or withdrawing care. So the reason we have so many people dying in ICUs is not because doctors are bad guys. It's because patients have not expressed their wishes, and in the absence of their wishes, the relatives say, do everything, I can't take this responsibility upon me.
Now, we have placed a sample proxy and a sample living will on DrOz.com. It is your duty today to print that out. The National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization gave it to us to share with you. Designate who you want to take charge of your treatment and personal health care if you're no longer able to dictate that. We all clear on that? All right, we'll be right back.